All right, welcome back. We're looking at the state of South African swimming and our swimmers' chances at the Tokyo Olympics. What other measures do we need to put in place to ensure that more swimmers come through the pipeline, and how do we grow the sports? Of course, I'm joined by Cameron van der Burgh and, of course, Suzaan van Biljon, and recently, who's just joined us all the way from KZN, Melissa Corfe. Melissa, thanks for joining us on the show this afternoon. And I've just been thinking about, getting the young swimmers in through the system, and it doesn't only take getting them through the system, it's development structures, it's the national governing body in terms of Swimming South Africa, making sure that we have more young kids participating in the sport, and hopefully one day we'll be interviewing them on their way to the Olympic Games. Are you satisfied with what the organization has done in terms of getting people through the pipeline, Melissa? Melissa, are you there? Did you get that? All right, so I'm going to have to throw it to Suzaan. Suzaan, are you satisfied with... Okay.
What?
All right, Suzaan, I'm going to have to ask you that question. We can't hear Melissa. Do you feel that Swimming South Africa is doing enough to get children through the system and eventually making them global leaders and global high performers?
Arthur, I think it's such a broad topic that we could discuss. And I think it filters down, obviously, from a learn-to-swim level all the way up through the swimming system. And I think if each coach and each program plays their role in nurturing our swimmers mentally, physically, emotionally, we can get a higher tier of professional athletes coming through the system. On a Swimming South Africa and organizational point of view, to be honest, I don't really know what they're offering the athletes at this time. I'm very happy with how I was treated back when I was still swimming, and I do trust that the swimmers are well looked after, and even on a lower level, that the coaches have enough support, they have enough education to get them through and to get our swimmers to a high level of swimming.
Fantastic. Cameron, having thought about the generation of young swimmers that we have in our country, having looked at the fact that Ethan du Preez, who finished second to Chad le Clos, is 17 years old, how would you encourage him and give him some motivation to remain mentally strong ahead of the Olympic Games? Being so young, competing with the world's best, I think might be frightening for anyone on any given day.
Yeah, I think you obviously have Ethan. I think I believe his name is Matt State. He also did extremely well last night. 200 free. He's only 17 years old. So there's a crop of young kids that are emerging, which is really good to see and refreshing, obviously. But for me, it was a big function of being able to lean on all the swimmers. And back in the day, I had. Ronan Skuma and Rake Nursling, Gerard Zambach, a whole bunch of these seniors that kind of really took me under the wing and helped me and nurtured me, and I think, protected me, if I can say, in terms of from getting your inner demons getting the worst of you. So I think when you get to the Olympic Games, there's so many things to see, and it's you're the first time around, you're sort of really unexpected because there's just nothing else like it in the world. It's such a big playing field that I think these guys can learn a few things from Chad le Clos and a couple of the seniors. I think they've kind of stepped into that role now where I think they need to take that lead and pay it forward and just nurture them a little bit. And that goes a long way. I think when you're swimming, whilst it is an individual sport, being on a team with good teammates helps a lot. I'm sure, I've got no doubt that he's going to be able to fill those roles and be able to help them out.
Well said. Happy with that response. Still in the context of our conversation, Suzaan, I think what I really love what you said is that you were treated so well by Swimming South Africa, but in generations past, the organization unfortunately have not always been on the side of the swimmers, some of them having to prepare or rather to provide their own accommodations or their own airplane tickets for major events. Is that something that is of the past, and can this current generation of swimmers look beyond that, especially because there are major tournaments still taking place in the 2021 FINA swimming calendar? I mean, the biggest one being the Olympic Games, but there's obviously other stuff that will happen just shortly in the year.
Yes, I definitely think that there's enough support, and I think a lot of other organizations, universities and businesses have stepped up to actually help fund our swimmers and help support our swimmers in their journey on performing at the top level. And if it's not coming from Swimming South Africa or from SASCOC, I do believe our guys or girls going to the Olympics or World Champs or Commonwealth will have the support they need. And we also just hope that if the support isn't there, that the community can step up and raise the funds for them to actually go and travel and compete for the country.
Fantastic. Melissa joins us on the line. Melissa, great to finally have you as we're chatting about the National Aquatic Championships taking place in Burgh and the state of swimming in South Africa. Your opening thoughts on what's been happening in the midst of COVID and finally the National Championships serving as the Olympic trials.
Yes, hi, Arthur. Thanks so much for having me, and hey to Cam and Sue. Haven't seen them in a while. It's really been awesome watching at the moment. It's actually brought back a lot of memories. It's been a little bit emotional. But yeah, so far so good. But I just definitely think that the girls need to follow in Tatiana's footsteps, and just I think we need to encourage those girls as much as we can. I mean, the 2008 Olympics, we had a huge amount of girls on that team, and it was absolutely amazing. Just everything about that was awesome. I mean, if I can push those girls to get to where Tatiana is and just focus on what they need to do, it's going to be absolutely awesome. Like I said, the talent that we have in this country, I don't think you get better. I just think that those girls need to work with what they've got, and it comes down to more technical things like their diet and mental prep and stuff like that. I definitely think they've got the best coaches. They've been run by Swim South Africa who know what they're doing, and I just think that if we can just back them 100%, that they're going to get to that where they need to be.
Do they have the full backing of the national governing body of swimming in the country, Melissa?
Yes, definitely. I think they do. I think there is a few little technical things that should be done a bit better, but you know, we have the talent, and I think we've got a lot to work with.
All right, Suzaan, I'm going to ask you about Lara van Niekerk and Erin Gallagher as, you know, a few of the female swimmers that are following in the footsteps of Tatiana Schoonmaker. Do they feel outshadowed by how massive of a personality she is, and can that sometimes affect the mental strength of the swimmers?
No, I don't. I think it should actually have the total opposite effect and motivate them. I know Cam on the show, yeah, but I remember 2012, Cameron or Chad's race was just before my semi-final, and yeah, it was Cameron's race, and he won the race, and I was so amped up, and I didn't think he was outshining what I could do. It actually motivated me, and it really motivated the rest of the team and got the spirits up of the rest of the team. So I really hope that the other girls who are close to qualifying or looking at qualifying are really encouraged and motivated by Tatiana's swims, and to realize that homegrown and locally training, you can make it, and it's not necessarily always greener on the other side.
It's not necessarily greener on the other side. Cameron, as Suzaan has mentioned, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, you know, I think Suzaan said very well. You know, performance and I think life in general is not a zero-sum game. You know, I don't think that we should all be competing against each other, and if one does better than the other, that you know, you're sort of worse off. You know, it's the rising tide lifts all boats, and you know, Chad and myself, we always used to, you know, sort of get amped up off each other's races, and we almost sort of had a bit of a you know, when I was doing well, Chad kind of knew that he was going to do well, and when Chad swam well, you know, it was like kind of you know, a great team spirit and a great team rivalry. And yeah, when we, you know, when I didn't swim well, you know, somehow Chad didn't have a great race. So it's kind of strange to that aspect. And yeah, I mean, I don't think people should see, or it would be quite silly to see things that way as as being, being almost selfish, I would say. So I'd really encourage them to all get excited about that. And, again, it's incredible to have swimmers now carrying on. Obviously, people, we have our stars like Suzaan and myself, that, we've retired and obviously we've passed on and you're passing the baton on to new people. And, I still want to watch something. I don't want to, pick up the remote and watch the World Championships and not see South Africa on the podium anymore. So, I really encourage them to take inspiration from that. And I'm sure that they are doing that.
Melissa, what does it take to be an Olympian? You were at least a member of the quartet that broke the South African record and also represented South Africa on the global stage. What do you think are your top three things that make an Olympian, if you would say?
Definitely dedication. Another big thing for me would be you've got to be selfish. Basically, swimming is an individual sport, and what you put in is what you're going to get out. And the third thing I think would be support.
All right, support. Wow, love that. Love how the conversation's going here in studio as we're speaking on a day 4 of the Gqeberha Eastern Cape National Aquatic Championships. Of course, we've already got the likes of Tatiana and Chad that have already qualified for the Olympic Games that takes place in Tokyo. A big thing, Suzaan, that could also be mentioned in terms of the international news was one of the countries, North Korea, pulled out of actually being a part of the Olympic Games, fearing that the numbers that have increased in Japan is probably the motivation in terms of them saying that they don't want to come to the Olympic Games because they want to protect their swimmers and even their athletes. This could also create a domino effect in other nations pulling out, and if we have a certain number of nations pulling out, the Olympic Games won't go on. Do you think that would take place?
It's really sad to hear that. I didn't actually know that. But I don't think an organization as huge as the Olympic Games will put any country or any athlete in jeopardy by hosting the event or actually having the event go forward. But every country has their own decisions to make, and I just really hope and pray that that's not the result, because these athletes have worked very hard and they've put a lot of time and sacrifice into actually qualifying, and they deserve the chance to experience an Olympic Games. I'm pretty sure it'll be a lot different to what we got to experience, but nonetheless, it is still something phenomenal to be part of, and I really hope they get the chance to go compete, and other countries will realize that enough safety measures will be in place for everyone to be safe.
Cameron, you never needed to wait for more than 4 years to prepare for the Olympic Games, and coronavirus is the very thing that has made the wait a little bit longer for swimmers. Is that going to play a factor at the Games when the Games are eventually up and running?
I definitely think it's a different ball game. This year, obviously, the Olympic Games, there's no spectators internationally. You only have local spectators. There's only, I think, a 30% capacity that they're going to allow. So I think it's going to be a different Olympics in terms of the experience, I think. And, that kind of comes back to what Suzaan was saying, is like people need to step up and, you can't make it an excuse, but it's definitely going to be a different preparation, I think, this time around, considering also that there's morning finals similar to what we had in Beijing in 2008. I find that actually, it was my first Olympics, so obviously there was, a number of factors, but I did find it a little bit more difficult, and I wasn't as well prepared to race in the morning finals as what I should have been. So I think, the coaches are well versed in this. I think Graham Hill, he's obviously been around the block a few times, and he was there in 2008. So I think he'll also, be a big part of the preparation and trying to teach his kids how to, how to get their head and how to wrap your mind around that kind of thing and prepare decently now. There's still a lot of time, to get to that position. But, obviously it's, unique games, I think, and we're going to see some unique performances and I think a lot of surprises as well. So looking forward to seeing that and supporting our team.
Awesome. Looking forward to the surprise performances that we can expect, of course, in Tokyo. Still have Suzaan and Cameron and, of course, Melissa that are on the show as we are just under 4 hours away from the finals at 6 p.m. in the Eastern Cape in Burgh. I can't wait to get just the final thoughts from our guests on where they see the medals coming in the Olympic Games and who will finish the next or the last 3 days of the championship stronger than anyone else. All right, we continue with eNCA Inside Sports just shortly.